Hello everyone, we are from group 3 and today we are going to explain about derivational morphology next. Group 3 members are Aprilia Dewantari, Putri Tariza, Adinda Salwa, Anastasia Amanda Putri, Farah Allisya, and Pricelia Primareta next. What is the derivational morpheme definition? A derivational morpheme is an affix, a group of letters added before the beginning, or prefix, or after the end, or suffix of a root or base word to create a new word or a new form of an existing word. Next will be explained by Farah.
Okay, relation between lexemes. A. Words can have grammatical factors determine their forms. For the example, perform can be performs and performed. B. Words also can have no grammatical factors, such as making nouns from verbs. On the other hand, in some contexts, if any verb appears as the verb perform, should have s for third person singular. And in some contexts, if any verb appears as the verb perform, should have at for regular past simple. It is called inflectional, but not a context in which you must add. Therefore, here is deals with derivation affixation. The word performance then is not a variant of the lexemes perform. The variant of any lexemes are the present, past, continuous, perfect, and future of the word. Next. The lexeme performance has plural form performance. Therefore, the lexeme performance has two forms, singular performance and plural performance. Then the relation between the word perform and performance is lexeme relation, not between words form. Next.
Okay, so now I'm going to explain about the word classes and conversion. So word classes are the same as what in traditional terminology are called part of speech and what many contemporary linguistics call lexical categories. Um, in every English word is a part of is a word that of part of speech. For example, perform and performance, they do not belong to the same word class. Perform is a verb and performance is noun. While conversion are also called as zero derivation, and the changing in a word class is not a result from affixation. It only signals the grammatical context. So the next point will be explained by my friend.
Next explanation is adverb derived from adjective. So adjective is a part of speech that modifies a noun and pronouns. Adjective usually tell what kind or which about nouns or pronouns. Adverb is a part of speech that modifies another adverb, or adjective. Adjective and adverbs serve a similar purpose in writing. They are both modifiers. They can sometimes be confused for one another. So here I will show you some example of adverb derived from adjective using the addition. So here I will show you some example of adverb derived from adjective using the additionally at the end of the word. We make many adverbs by adding "ly" to an adjective. So for example is quick. Quick is a word that comes from an adjective then changed by adding "ly" to adverb and it be quickly now. And the second example is careful. it's also the same. It has the word careful, which come from an adjective, and then it is changed to adverb with the additional of ly, which is to be carefully. And other examples are the same as that. Like the last example, beautiful from adjective, and we change to be adverb is beautifully. But not all words that end in ly are adverb. The following ly words, for example, to be lovely, alone to be lonely, and neighbor to be neighborly. And some adverb have no particular from. From example is well, fast, very, never, always, still. We can change it that word to be adverb because it must be weird. All right, the next explanation will be explained by my.
Okay, the next is about derivation noun from nouns. First, what is non-derivation? Non-derivation is a process whereby nouns are derived from nouns or from another part of speech. And this process is also known as nominalization. But not all derivational processes change word class. And here are some examples. First, we use perfect plus noun and the result as noun. And first is sub and co. Sub and co is common use in academic English. Sub, which means below, like subset, subdivision, and co, which means join, like correct director and co-founder. But the other example are mal and anti, like malfunction, malnutrition, anti-fans, antithesis, and anti-hero. Mal, which means bad, and anti, which means express a negative stance or action towards something or someone. And the next we can use suffix plus noun, and the result is noun. We can use let, which means small, like droplet, booklet, cigarette, and doggy. And the next is and in, which means added feminine marking, like waiters and princess. We also can use ian, which means inhabitant of X, like Londoner, New Yorker, Texan, Glaswegian. And the next week we use ship and hood, which means state of being an X, like kingship, ladyship, motherhood, priesthood. And the last example we can use is and ian, which means default of or expert on X, like contortionist, Marxist, logician, and historian. And the next will be explained by my friends.
Okay, now I'm going to explain nouns derived from members of other word classes. Nouns derived from other word classes is various. Here are examples of suffixes used to derive nouns from adjective. IT, e.g. humanity, ness, example sensitiveness, ism, example nationalism. All these suffixes mean basically property of being X, where X is the base of adjective. There are also suffixes for deriving nouns from verbs, for example, ans, ians, performance, silence, meant, agreement, ink, building, action, organization, all, refusal, or singer. These suffixes all have some function. They form abstract nouns meaning activity or result of acting, but they are not interchangeable. For example, we have performance, but no performance or performation. Next.
Okay, the next is the other way of deriving abstract noun. Although affixation is by far the most common way in which lexemes are derived in English, it is not the only way, and some non-affixal way of deriving as abstract nouns are: first, we can change in the position of the stress. Change in the position of the stress, like in nouns, The syllable stress in first, like permit and transfer, but on verb, the stress of syllable in the second, permit and transfer. Second, we can change in the final consonant in nouns, believe, prove, and defense. On verbs, we can use believe, prove, and defend. And the last way we can change in the vowel. In noun, we can use song and sit. And in verb, we can use sing and sit.
Okay, next we're going to talk about adjectives derived from adjectives. And in this section, prefixes predominate even though there is still suffix. Like on the first point, we have suffix ish, meaning somewhat X. For example, greenish, smallish, dramatish, etc. Next, we have prefix un, meaning not. For example, unhappy, unsure, unreliable, etc. I'm pretty sure most of us are already familiar with this one. And another negative prefix is in, with its allomorph, il, ir, and im. And it is important to remember prefix in is more restricted than un. For example, intangible, illegal, irresponsible, and impossible. We have pairs of more or less synonymous adjectives, negated with un and the other with in, or one of its allomorph. Here you can see the example. Eatable become uneatable, edible become inedible, readable become unreadable, legible become illegible, and so on. Okay, next.
So now I'm going to explain about the adjective derived from members of other word classes. Some of the processes that derive adjectives from verbs straddle the divide between derivation and inflection in a way that we have not yet encountered, such as from here. A not very interesting book. B, the party course sounded very drunk. C, the car seemed more damaged than the lamppost. The modifier very and the comparative construction, such as more, blah, 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 than, show that interesting, drunk, and damage are adjectives here, not form of the verb like seems, interest, drink, and damage. Further suffixes that commonly form adjective from verbs with their basic meanings are able, able to be axed at, breakable, readable, reliable, watchable, and tending to X, repellent, expectant, conversant. If, tending to X, repulsive, explosive, speculative. Expectation derived from this basic meaning can, as usual in derivation, be overriding. For example, conversant doesn't mean tending to converse. Some of these bound verb roots appear in a number of derived lexemes, such as the audi root that occurs in audible, audition, audience, and auditory. Suffixes that form adjectives from nouns are more numerous. Here are some the example. Full, for example, joyful, hopeful, helpful, meaningful. Less, joyless, hopeless, helpless, meaningless. L, original, normal, personal, national. Ish, boyish, loudish, waspish, and selfish. Next.
Verbs derive from verbs. Verbs derivation form verbs basically forms a new word from its root added by prefix or suffix that form from verbs as well. Verb derivate from verbs mostly added by prefixes, for example, we, be, con. Also the negative or reversive prefixes such as an, des, and de. It is rare to use suffixes in our verbs derived from verbs. For example, rewatch from the root watch, become from the root come, conserve from the root serve, unplug from the root plug, dismiss from the root miss, decompose from the root compose. There are also transitive and intransitive verbs to indicate verbs. Intransitive lie, and the lay, rise and rose, fall and fell, sit and sat. And the transitive one is lay for late, raise, raised, fell, sat and sat. I put a note here so you can know what is the past form of the intransitive and the transitive. Transitive are all causative. That is, they mean cause to X, where X stands for the meaning of the corresponding intransitive. Now pay attention. From the 1A, Lucas laid the book on the table. 1B, the book lay on the table. Transitive verbs are ones with an object noun phrase, usually indicating the thing or person that is the goal of the action of the verb, as in 1A, while intransitive lacks such an object as in 1B. Next.
Okay, so I'm going to explain the last point for this topic. Verbs derived from members of other word classes. Verbs derived from nouns and from adjective are numerous. Here are some affixes for deriving verb from noun. A, it's prefix de, for example, debug, deforest, and delouse. The second one is suffix ise, for example, organize, patronize, terrorize. And the third one is the suffix ivy, for example, beautify, gentrify, and petrify. There are also some common verbs that are derived by replacing the final voiceless consonant of noun with a voiced one, perhaps some vowel change too. For the example, nouns, bath, and verbs, bath. Nouns, breathe, and verbs, breathe. Nouns, house, verbs, houses. Nouns, read, verbs, read. And that brings us to the end. I'd like to thank you for your time and attention. If anyone has any question, please feel free to ask and we will do our best to answer the question. Thank you.